this awful stuff that's happening in Ukraine. There is no doubt that there's a dreadful bloodshed, and it's almost like every time you click on the news services, some are saying that you can't believe everything you read. The reality is a bloke has invaded and sent his troops in to invade another country. And playing around nuclear reactors today, it is carnage, Bronwyn, but there's no doubt a destabilising of the world is taking place, Europe in particular. And as I said, Australia is well placed when it comes to being an alternate for much energy supplies and so forth. So it turns out it might help our economy, which is just sick and sad. But the reality is that it's Joe Biden. I still say that Putin is doing this because Biden's in the White House, and it's as simple as that.
Well, Gary, you and I both said before the election in 2020 that if Biden was elected, the world became a far more dangerous place. And that's exactly what's happened. If Trump was still there, this would not have happened. And the reason is that Trump was unpredictable. Biden is totally predictable. And Putin knew that if Trump said he would move, he would move. Now, I listened to that State of the Union speech the other night, and I was just appalled. I really was. I mean, I warned a long time ago that socialism is brutal and cruel. And Putin has no care about how many people he kills. He just wants to annex that territory, and he won't stop there. But when you think that Biden, with his warnings to Putin, this is what we'll do and you better not do it, was just pathetic. And then you realise that America, because of Biden's policies of shutting down the search for and utilisation of oil and gas that America has in vast quantities and was a net exporter of energy under Trump, all shut down by Biden. Biden is buying oil from Russia daily.
Yeah.
He is paying American dollars to Russia, who spends it killing Ukrainian children. I mean, what sort of balance of power is that? The best thing he could do is to reverse all those policies and again become a net exporter. We will be benefiting in terms of the price of oil and gas. There will be, therefore, more money in our budget. But it just proves once and for all that the world is run on fossil fuel. And it's going to be that way for a long, 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 long time to come. Because that is what keeps things going. You cannot run the world without it. And Angela Merkel has a lot to answer for by making Germany totally dependent on gas coming in. They're trying to fire up their coal-fired power stations again, restart their nuclear power stations. It is just so wrong that so much has been wasted by the Green people who wanted to force
And indeed, Bronwyn, if you follow the full thread of it, the Russians have been financing a lot of these international green movements that have been at the heart of the sort of bad decisions that have been taken in countries like ours that don't suit our purpose. They've actually weakened the West. I mean, speaking of the State of Union, some of the media in Australia just airbrushed over this. I found it astonishing. Some of the 6 o'clock news just airbrushed over this. Gave him a pass on this. But here is what Joe Biden actually said. He forgot he was talking about Ukraine. He talked about Iranians. Have a listen to Joe Biden this week. Have a listen to this.
Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom.
Well,
I mean, Caleb, this is the point. We are so weak in the West. We are just so prone to this. We have taken this kind of East River, New York view of the world. We have to keep everybody happy. The Ukraine crisis has exposed just how weak and woke we've got. And there is the president of the free world who doesn't even know what bloody country he's talking about.
I know. Sleepy Joe does it again. What a surprise. And the other thing he said in that State of the Union speech that really annoyed me, talking about Russian oligarchs, he said ill-begotten gains. Now, beget is a completely different word to get. It's another thing that he either didn't pick up on or, just didn't have the sense when he was writing it or someone else was writing his speech to pick up on it. But the weakness that is so obvious in Joe Biden is clearly part of what has emboldened Putin here to invade Ukraine. And the other thing that really emboldened him was, of course, the absolutely bungled pulling out of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was anything that showed that the US really, in terms of its foreign policy, had no idea what it was doing, it was the way it pulled out of Afghanistan and what has happened there since with the rise of the Taliban again. I mean, Putin would have been sitting there rubbing his hands going, my God, this Biden bloke has absolutely no idea I can do whatever the hell I want. And so he has. And we have sat around, the US has sat around, and in fact the rest of the West really has sat around for the last couple of weeks doing absolutely nothing. We've got our piddly little sanctions, which achieve nothing. I mean, Putin is not going to be discouraged by someone saying, oh, well, we're going to take Russian vodka off the shelves at Dan Murphy's. Are we really serious about what we are doing here? It has been so weak. If we don't stand up as a bloc, as the West, against this kind of military might, then we're basically saying not only Russia can do this, but China can do this. That is the real discussion here, is that China is the first line, Russia is the first line, but China is the next one 5 steps behind them. And they will be watching this very, very closely. And if they feel like they can do something, i.e. go into Taiwan, they will.